happens. Sometimes really good things happen and then you didn't get it on video. So, but weeks ago we had read, we had started in Isaiah 58 and we had gotten about halfway. And so I want to go back there because we had talked about like the fasting is more than just about the food. It's about our hearts and our actions, that our actions become pleasing to God. And so, because it talked about in verse 6, not only releasing the bonds of wickedness and the oppression and to break every enslaving yoke, but then we had really honed in on verse 7, where it says, is it not to divide your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? And do you see here, I'm seeing here that this is really, that it's my resources. It's not always praying that the church will help them or the government will help them, but will I do it? Will it, when it costs me something? And that's why I'm so proud of you guys is that as leaders, you do pay the price of being a leader, because it says to them who have more has been given, like more is required of us. And so then it says, and you hide not yourself from the needs of your own flesh and blood. And at this time, it is easy to just to take care of ourselves and make sure that we're safe, because the enemy is bringing that message and it makes you think I have to hoard or keep myself safe because I don't want to have this need. Now, here's where evil forebodings come in, is that I could have the loss could be in the future. So I have to protect from all this impending doom for years and years in the future. Okay. So that is though not the goal of our fasting, because how do we see? We see it in the next verse, the word then. When we fast, and then these actions that are pleasing to us, being the sons and daughters, then your light shall break forth like the dawn. And so the thing is that's why I titled this series Fasting for Heart Change, because if all we do is do something in the physical and it doesn't change us, our spiritual self on the inside, our lights won't shine to the actual world, because it's what they see us doing. It's what they see us when we're sacrificing, and it makes a difference, and they go, wow, they're different. And so but I wanted the reason there's a real purpose of why I want to continue. It says, verse 9, so we see everything that's happening around us. And this is in the context of fasting. Then it says, then you shall call and the Lord will answer. Then you shall cry and he will say, here I am. So the thing is that our intimacy with the Lord is going to grow, and we can cooperate with the spiritual realm on a higher level when we press in and allow his work to be done. But it says, you almost want to circle that word in verse 9. It says, if you take away from your midst yokes of oppression. Now, notice that it says, from your midst, yokes of oppression. This isn't just your yokes. If you take yokes of oppression in your realm. So the thing is this is bigger. It's us in culture. It's us in our family. And so our influence in those realms, it says the finger, if you take away the finger pointed in scorn toward the oppressed or the godly. This is where the enemy right now is really coming hard down on the oppressed and bringing them into shame and bringing them into a place of such brokenness. Or it says, the finger pointed in scorn toward the oppressed or the godly. The thing is, we have to stand up. We have to stand up in the middle of being attacked. And one of the things that the Lord taught me a long time ago was that my reputation is his responsibility. His responsibility. We had a doctor who worked for us in our clinic, and he ended up losing his license. He ended up starting a practice once he got the license back, and he went around and got his old patients back and lied about us and told them that we had fired him and that we wouldn't let him see them. So it was the exact opposite. But the reason I'm telling this story is that the Lord told me that my reputation, he was responsible for restoring that. That's part of God being our vindicator, but we just had to continue with integrity, going about serving and doing good, and the reputation would take care of itself. So the thing is during these days, as we bring truth out, as we bring God's help out, there are going to be people who are threatened by that, who aren't going to like our message. Okay. And so we want to be willing to stand up, even when it costs us part of our reputation. And Sue gave a wonderful teaching on letting God be your vindicator and restoring and not worrying about what people say about you, okay, in the past. And then it says, and if you take away, the last part is, and every form of false, harsh, unjust, or wicked speaking. Now, the thing is, it says, if you take away those things, the thing is we have the influence, if we use it, to put an end to the lies that are crippling people. We have our own ability to stop wicked speaking, but we might have to stand up against it to stop it. And that is where is the kingdom of light going to shine, and that will limit the power of wickedness. So, because if we do that, verse 10, and if you pour out that which you sustain your own life for the hungry and satisfy the need of the afflicted, then your light shall rise forth. And listen to this next phrase, in the darkness. Your light is going to shine in the darkness. And I can't remember a time that's as dark as right now. And so fasting, that we can have the spiritual reservoir to stand in the midst of the deep darkness that we're in right now and not close our eyes to the needs around us. Then it says, your light shall rise forth in the darkness, and your obscurity and gloom become like the noonday. And so the thing is, the enemy definitely, I'm hearing people say, there's so many people who are sick, who are miserable. There's so many people losing their jobs. There's so many people who are dying. They're just seeing every single thing that the bad that is happening. But the thing is this verse says, is that our gloom will become like light. And so it's really careful right now that we watch what goes in our eye gates and our ear gates, and fasting can help us with the sensitivity to that. So now, why do we do all this? Verse 11, the Lord shall guide you continually and satisfy you in drought and in dry places, and make strong your bones. So here's the thing, as we see the darkness, this is a verse that we can confess over ourselves as we're facing a challenge. The Lord is going to strengthen me in this place. It is not too hard. He is going to strengthen me in drought and dry places. So if you think that you're not going to make it and that it's too hard, you're really saying the Lord is his sufficiency to provide that in the middle of it isn't enough. It's really that the problem has become bigger than who he is. And I think that for myself, I won't say for any of you, but for myself, I have been thinking, God, is my thinking of you big enough for the days we're living in? And I'm like, have I let the deceit and the death that the enemy is bringing, have I let that become bigger than you? And then the last thing I want to cover is verse 12, and in your ancient ruins have been there a long time. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. So I want you to think about all the people that you're trying to help or things that might be going on in your family or your business or your community. And the thing is that those ancient ruins, God is in the process of rebuilding right now. And then it says, you shall raise up the foundations of buildings that have been laid waste for many generations. And you shall be called repairer of the breach, restorer of streets to dwell in. So do you hear? I just want to encourage us, me too. I want to encourage us that we are the source of the repairer of the breach. That is an active verb, repairer. That just doesn't mean saying, God, you do it. We're the repairer. We have to take on that identity. And that's a little scary with everything that's going on. So I'm encouraging you when we're fasting for heart change, that the thing is when God's assigning us assignments, it's because we're the repairer. As on his behalf, we're the one that he's going to flow through to do that transformation. And then it says, the restorer of streets to dwell in. Streets are in a community. Streets are where we live and move and have our being. And so I'm encouraging us to fast that we're willing to say yes to being a restorer of streets, a restorer of cities, a restorer of whatever it is that God's speaking to you. Schools, for goodness sake. We're going to need tons of restorers of children and their trust and authority, and their identities are going to have to be rebuilt from all this oppression that we put on them. And so what I wanted to do today is we hit it really hard at the beginning about the iniquity and the sin. And I felt, so my leading for today is we're going to break up into groups of 2. And there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of us on today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out into 3 breakout groups. And we're just going to, this is a very powerful thing, is I want you to either pray for sin and iniquity in your own life, and then praying for our city and our nation, the sin and iniquity that's going on there. And so it'll be, every person can just be with their prayer partner. And so hopefully it'll be very private. And then if you have something that you want to pray for over yourself, please do that. And then go ahead and move into praying for our community. So we'll probably take about 20 minutes. We'll probably be finished early today. But I just really felt it was important to not gloss over the sin, because the sick thing is we've just now had an encouraging thing about how God's going to answer our call and we're going to be repairs of the breach. But then the very next chapter, he starts talking about the sin of the people again. And so we're going to go ahead and deal with some of our possible things that God may has been highlighting to you, or things in our community that God has been highlighting to you that we can confess and that we can pray against. So, all right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead